Hey guys, welcome back to the Good View Woodworks channel. My name is Nathan, and in this video we have something kind of different for you. Do you remember the river table that we made in Detroit at my in-laws' house? Well, something happened. It must have been a bad batch of epoxy because it somewhat delaminated from the wood here. So check this out. If you notice, they have some bubbles here. For some reason it delaminated and also stayed sticky. Look, my fingernail makes a marking. You see, it's almost like rubber. Very, very strange. So my father-in-law tried to sand the entire top, but it just gums up, messes up his paper. And the thing is, I know that he mixed it properly because it's hard underneath. It's hard, but it's weird. It got hard on the bottom, but also delaminated from the wood. We had a very strange thing happen, and I think what it is just that we had a bad batch of epoxy. So this is the way that we're gonna fix this table. Is we have our flattening jig right here with our router in it. And really, the only way to fix it is to remove it all from the surface. And so we only have to, the good news is we only have to go down about a 1/16 of an inch. But we're gonna take, if you've seen my other videos where I've been planing the surface with this jig, if you have not, I will link them in a card up here. And you get to see that whole entire process. But what we're gonna do is we're gonna plane this thing down and we're gonna show you how to fix this problem in this video. Check it out. All right, we're back. We have finished planing down the top of the slab. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna remove the slab jig so we can start sanding down on this. And my father-in-law has already started sanding one side, and he's actually gonna start working on the other side. So, hey. All right, so what he's already done here is he's sanded this down with a 50 grit on the belt sander. And as you can tell, we have the router marks and stuff. You can see them here. And so far, he's already taken all the router marks off of this side. We just have to work on the other side. Once that's done, we can use the orbital sander to get rid of all the marks left over from the 50 grit. And we're gonna start with, so this is 50 grit with this belt sander, and then we're gonna go to 80 grit, 100, and 220 on the orbital sander. And at that point, then we'll be ready for our seal coat.
Let's get started.
That mask looks awesome. Where'd you get this dust mask from?
It's from SA.
SA.
SA, not sure the rest of it, but
Oh, okay.
yeah, I got 10 of them, random, for like 20 bucks.
I'll show you. I'll put a link down at the bottom of the video. I think it's from a company called SA Fishing Company, something like that. Anyway, we'll link to we'll put it down in the description so you guys can check them out. They're actually pretty cool. It's more for dust. You can't use it for painting or anything like that, but they work out pretty good, and they come with some pretty cool designs.
And very comfortable.
What was that?
Very comfortable.
Oh, okay. All right, everybody, check it out. Bill has completed sanding this top, and it looks great. Check it out. So we've got it sanded to 100 grit. Use this rag so you guys can see when we get the dust off of there. This cherry looks really nice. We got a little island that appeared in this area, and we got some bark that came out, which is really nice. Here we got this little island right here. So if you guys have watched this channel before, you know what the next step is, and that is seal coats. So what we're going to do is we're going to put 2 to 3 seal coats on this bad boy so we get no bubbles in our finish coat. And then what we're going to be using is we're going to be using some stuff that we have left over, which is, we got some Total Boat, and it looks like Total Boat. We have some Total Boat epoxy left over that we're going to use as a seal coat and get this thing knocked out. It's going to look super sweet, and we're really excited. Hey guys, do me a favor. If you've had any issues and have resolved them in a very similar way, leave it down in the comments down below. All right, here we go. Time to mix up some epoxy. So we got our Total Boat high performance epoxy resin, and what we're going to do is we're going to use this for our seal coat. And if you notice that the resin bottle is bigger than the hardener bottle, that's because it's a 2-to-1 mixture, and these pumps automatically dispense the correct ratio. So 1 pump is good for 1 pump. You get us a 1 pump of resin, 1 pump of hardener. They're already equally distributed. Here we go. Equal parts of resin, and we have enough to do a full seal coat of this, maybe just a little bit more. Alright guys, so what we're going to do is we're going to mix for about 2 to 2.5 minutes. If you don't mind getting your hands dirty, you can take your glove. Oh, it's starting to get thick. You gotta hurry. Just take your glove and you can wipe it on. There we go. All right guys, it's the next day and the seal coats have dried. And if you look, if I don't know if the camera will pick it up, but you can see there are some imperfections here. It's not perfectly smooth, but that's okay. That's what we're looking for. The goal of that coat was not to have a smooth surface necessarily. It was to seal the wood so that no air bubbles come up in the flood coat. And that's what we're prepping for right now, is the flood coat, okay? So what we're gonna do, we're gonna sand this entire surface with what we have is 120, but 220 is the best to use. We're gonna use 220 grit sandpaper to scuff the whole surface. Now we're not trying to flatten it or level it out or anything. We're just trying to scuff the surface so that we have good mechanical adhesion. All right, after that is the flood coat. Here we go. All right, now that we have the table sanded, we're gonna go ahead and wipe the dust off. If it makes you feel better, you can always use some 91% isopropyl alcohol to get everything off, but I found out it works just as well just using a microfiber cloth or maybe a blue shop towel and just wipe the surface down. All right, so the next step is we want to have this table level. That way when we pour our epoxy for the flood coat, it flows out and over the edges and doesn't collect in one corner or the other. So we want to make sure our substrate is level, and then we can get to mixing and pouring some epoxy. All right guys, so we're ready for our flood coat. And the goal with the flood coat is you want 3 ounces per square foot on the surface. What we're gonna do is we're gonna pour it. We're going to use our 1/8 by 1/8 square notch trowel to move the epoxy around on the surface. And all these tools and materials that we're using, I will link them down in the description so you can click it and get it. All right? All right, so we're going to do 8 ounces of the hardener. I'm going to hold this too because it squirts out real far. 8 ounces of the hardener and 16 ounces of the resin. Okay, now that we got it all mixed together, what we're gonna do is we don't want to let it sit in the cup for very long. We're gonna wanna pour it out in the center of the table. And then we'll be using our square notch trowel to spread it out. Yep, just kind of a glob like right here. Yeah, just make sure you get it all out on the table. And then once it's all out there, whichever end that you decide to start on, leave the cup tipped upside down on the other end. The best way to spread it out is to do like you're mowing the lawn. Start at one side and work your way back and forth. Yeah, starting from the middle, work your way out. See how he's not pushing it all the way to the edge? He's getting close to the edge but not going over. That's the trick. As you can tell, you can see it, the lines are going away, it's self-leveling. All right guys, when you're using your trowel, you kind of want to keep a steep angle on it. And you want to work it down the middle, come around to the edge, keep a little bit of an angle this way as well, so you're pushing the material one direction. That way you're getting even coverage. Same thing, you move to the other side, start from the middle. We're going to work our way to the outside. Just like that. Now we're going to start working it to push the epoxy over the edge. And you're going to be doing the same thing. You're just going to work until it starts running over the edge.
Just right off like that.
Yeah, like start from the middle when you're, and then like when you're pulling it to one side, just get closer and closer till it starts running over the edge. You want to keep your trowel like that. Yeah. Almost vertical, but not quite. Yeah, like that right there. That was perfect. Yep. See that little, can you see that puddle that he's pushing now over the edge? It's perfect. Exactly what you want. He's going to put the glove on, and he's going to use his gloved hand to wipe the epoxy on the edges. Exactly, just like that. Yep. Smear it on. That way all the sides are covered.
Almost break that tension on the edge.
That's right.
Let it run over some.
That's right. So what he said was, when you have a spot that doesn't seem like it's setting, it seems like a divot on the surface, he's breaking that surface tension by tapping it with his finger. Now we're gonna get our heat gun. Look at this surface. Look at how there's no imperfections in this bad boy. Look at the reflection of the light. No dips, no dimples. Looking good. We have no air bubbles because it's mixed perfectly. All right, Dr. Bill. What do you think?
Looks good. I love it. It looks so much better than it did a month ago. You saw the pictures, and this is just a total comeback. It can be saved.
That's exactly right. That's what we're gonna name this video. Can it be saved? Yes, it can. All right, guys, we're back. My father-in-law ended up having to leave, so he won't be here for the finishing of this table. We had a couple of issues that I wanted to point out to you guys. So about 2 or 3 hours after we poured the flood coat, it rained outside and the temperature dropped like 20 degrees. And what happened, and you can see the top is still nice and shiny, but if you can tell, it's dimply. I don't know if you can see that in the camera. It looks really good, but it has these little dimples. I don't know if you can tell. It's hard to see, but in person you can totally see it. So what we're going to do to remedy this is we're going to sand the top down with 320 grit on our sander. And we're actually going to give this thing a satin finish instead of a high gloss finish. Which, to be honest, in my opinion, I actually like that better than the watery look to it. But so what we're going to do is sand it down, and we'll put some wipe-on poly on. All right, guys, hopefully you can see it better now. I missed sand. Here you go. You can see the little dimples in it now. Now I'll finish sanding these out. But what I did find is right here. Got one little tiny hole right there. So we're gonna use some Star Bond's thick gap filler. We're gonna go ahead and use this so we can fill it instantly and get back to sanding. You ready? All right, we'll go ahead and start wiping the dust. All right, and now we can go ahead and put some wipe-on poly on this bad boy. All right, we got some Watco wipe-on poly satin, and I have an old sock, and we're gonna go ahead and wipe this on. All right, guys, now after this dries, I'm gonna go ahead and take my buffer out and buff it. But do you see how it's not so glossy? I like the way that looks much better. All right, guys, it's the next day and our finish is dry, but it has these like swirl marks in it from where I wiped it on. So we're gonna use some rubbing compound and a buffer to get this thing nice and pretty. All right, here we go. All right, now that we've got the whole surface buffed with the rubbing compound, I'm gonna just take a clean rag and just wipe off the residue left over by it. Now that we got it wiped off, we're gonna take our buffer again, but we're gonna put some wax on this thing and buff it up. It is looking so cool. Really, really pretty. I really like the satin finish over the high gloss finish. That's actually my favorite. My father-in-law left some legs. We're gonna do some hairpin legs on this. It's what he wanted. And I think they're gonna, because the table is thin and narrow, it's gonna look really nice with some hairpin legs. So here we go. We got some nice hairpin legs, flat black. I think they'll accent it nicely. And they are pretty inexpensive. I'll link down in the description these hairpin legs so you guys can go get them as well. You know, a lot of people make these legs, but man, you can't beat it sometimes. I think Amazon has these for like 25 bucks for all 4 of them. So, or less than that maybe. It's just crazy. They're really, really inexpensive, but they also look really good if that's the style that you're going for. All right, thanks for watching this video. If you would, please do me a favor and hit that subscribe button. Also, hit that like button because it puts me up higher in the queue. And last but not least, give this video a share if you really like it. If you want to see what a coffee table looks like with some hairpin legs on it, I'm going to go ahead and link a video down in the description. It'll be a couple of videos. One will be how to spray paint and finish your hairpin legs, and also it will show you how to install them. So there'll be 2 separate videos and I will link them down in the description. But guys, if this is your first time here, thanks for watching, and as always, thanks for hanging out with us.